the most iconic film that everyone remembers Dharampaji for is Sholay. That eternal jodi of Jai Veeru and the man who brought it on the silver screen, Ramesh Sippy, now joins us on the buck stops here. Thanks very much, sir, for speaking to us. Of course, the first question has to be about Sholay. Why do you think, or why did you think at that time, that Dharmendra ji was the perfect fit for the role of Veeru in Sholay?
Tell you that I had already worked with him in Sita or Geeta. Dharamji and Sanjeev Kumar ji played opposite Sita and Geeta. Hema Malini. So we had met during Sita or Geeta. And during Sholay, yes, when the script was ready, I had said only one thing. The three actors who were with me on Sholay, on Sita or Geeta, I had put in this request to Salim Javed also. These three characters must be there in Sholay. These three actors, Hema ji, Dharam ji and Sanjeev Kumar. They were actors for Sita or Geeta, and I wanted to repeat them. I was so happy with them during Sita or Geeta. Then, when the Sholay script started developing, we were careful to have these, and the two characters that formed Hema ji, Jaya ji and Amit ji fitted into it beautifully. And so, the entire cast of Sholay was complete when Amjad filled in. Amjad filled the role of Gabbar. So Dharam ji, we are talking about today. He's no more with us, but he was the life of Sholay. His performance throughout was so lively and so wonderful, so emotional towards the end when his friend Jay dies and he takes off to take the final bout of revenge. I think it was a wonderful moment and he carried it off beautifully. And even the very first time we see them on the train and they toss a coin, that entire sequence showed so beautifully. If I didn't have characters like this, actors like this playing those characters, it would not have stood out as strongly. They came on so beautifully on screen. It was extremely satisfying.
You know, and you're right. I mean, he has spanned the entire gamut of emotions just in that one film itself. It had action, it had comedy, it had romance, there was emotion in the end. Every single scene, you know, had that stamp of Dharmendra ji. But personally, which one of these do you think he was the best at?
As required by the script, his was a far more outgoing character, and Amit ji was more subdued and inward. So that contrast showed very nicely with both of them, and it suited him as an actor to come out. He'd done some soft roles also. He had done some subdued roles, but I found him doing these strong and bright roles even better. So he would, he just, on the Tanki scene, he was outstanding. And a lot of it was himself. It was intended in the script that he would.
You know, we were speaking to Javed Akhtar Saab earlier, and he said that, you know, earlier a lot of the actors in the film wanted to play each other's role. Does that also hold true for Dharmendra ji? Did he also want to play any other role other than Veeru?
Yes, he did say it. He actually said, yeah, my role is good, but should I do this or should I do Sanjeev Kumar's role? कहानी तो उनकी है. And he said, लेकिन यार वो गब्बर बहुत पावरफुल रोल है, मैं गब्बर कर लूँ? मगर आप करना चाहते हैं? So he was very sweet. He laughed and said, नहीं, I'll do my role. So I think personal and the actor and the man somehow blended. इतनी तरह खूबसूरत तरीके से उनका मेल हुआ.
Any memory from set, Sippy Saab, which will be your personal favorite? You know, any interaction, anything that happened on set, which will, you know, when you look back at Dharmendra ji's life, you'll be like, I remember him for what happened at that time.
Oh, he had some mischievous qualities also. At this moment, I'm not going into the heavier side. I'd like to remember some wonderful, sweet little some things about him. He was getting ready in the climax scene, and he felt he would, what he was not too comfortable with was that he was tied up on those two poles, and the action was taking place around him. He was uncomfortable being tied down. But when I explained to him that that's where you will want to break out and do the needful, and that's what finally happened. And I think he genuinely felt, I will not allow her to be dancing like this. How can I? So that is the essence of this moment. That's exactly what we want to see on screen. And so she danced, and so he struggled to get out of his bonds. And once he broke through, he was out and fighting like a lion. And more so when Amit ji's character, Jay, passed away. He was very emotionally taken up. Genuinely, he was feeling it so strongly. And he took off for the climax. I think there was that child in him, that wonderful child in him that came forth along with his character. It became so natural and so beautiful. I think, as I recall him now, I am overwhelmed, and so I'm a little more emotional, I guess.
And I'm sure that holds true for all of his viewers as well. I mean, you know, he's really been a part of an entire generation growing up. And that's why I often wonder, it's been such an iconic film. Every scene, every dialogue, every song, the climax. Did you and Dharmji ever discuss, you know, perhaps coming out with a sequel? Because that's what happens in most of these, you know, really famous films, that, you know, a part 2, Sholay returns. कभी आपकी ऐसी बात नहीं हुई?
Nahi. I think all of us felt it's a kind of landmark that you don't try to fiddle with. It's got a place of it. Today it's 50 years after Sholay, and we still talk about it. There has to be a reason. If I had made sequels and sequels, you wouldn't feel it that way.
No, there can only be one Sholay. How would you describe him off camera? You know, if there was one personality trait you were to say defined him for you as a person.
I have said it, that man and child, that sums him up so beautifully. What else is there to say about him? He had the child in him, full of life, full of the desire to grasp a little more of what's happening around him, as if he still wants to learn and know that inquisitiveness, and yet that manly, wonderful, strong, every woman would want to be protected by him, loved by him. That kind of a personality is just very heartwarming and very winning.
A man-child, no doubt, but also a romantic at heart, which you said you saw on the sets of Sholay.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I didn't get to see that. Well, that must have been, he must have played his cards beautifully if to have come through with it. They fell in love, and then at one point in time in the future, they got married.
Yes, because Sholay is where on sets the romance bloomed between one of the most handsome men in the Hindi film industry and one of the most beautiful ladies, Hema, Malini and Dharmendra, for having given us the iconic Sholay and for telling us these stories, these memories of Dharmendra ji. Thank you very much, Sippy Saab, for joining us on The Buck Stops Here. Of course, an actor who will be terribly, terribly missed. Thanks very much for tuning in.